Painful Lessons podcast. Guess what? We have got a sponsor. We've got one. We've got a sponsor. And it's my buddy Adam, who owns a company called Strong Coffee. Adam has been hustling and working his ass off to make this coffee company incredible. He has this fitness background, and here's the deal with it. It is an instant coffee, and you just heat up water and then put like a spoonful of this latte that they make, and it has in it protein, collagen, adaptogens, nootropics. It has all the stuff so that when you drink it, you don't get all and weird. Instead, you get all up but cool. You're going to dig it. StrongCoffeeCompany.com, because everybody wants to be up but chillax. Up but chill. That's Strong Coffee. Rock on. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Painful Lessons Podcast. My name is Tyler Ramsey, and my co-host is Ben Goldhirsch, and we're both awesome. And we are crazy about one thing, and it's the art of growth. And it seems to be the only way that anyone can actually grow is by going through a lesson that was somewhat painful, and then looking at that lesson and using it as fuel and as wisdom and as inspiration going forward. And I think that one of the greatest things in the world is like the idea of grace. So anyone who has been through a painful lesson, I hope that they experience nothing but grace going forward, as long as they are determined to learn a lesson from it. And we have a guest today, and his name is Tom Arnold. And I don't think that I've been this excited about a guest in a long time. I think I ran into Tom Arnold he spoke at a meeting. And one of the A's of AA is anonymous, but he's pretty public about his sobriety, so I'm not worried about discussing it. But he told this story as one of the greatest stories I've ever heard. And he I think has a really unique ability, like maybe even a superpower that Mark Twain would be jealous of. And it's that he is one of the best storytellers I've ever heard. He has an audiobook. It's called Tom Arnold. It's called Tom Arnold, right?
It's a video too. It's a stand-up special.
Okay. It's like, so I got it on like audiobooks.
Okay.
It's like you can get it on.
Yeah, I have an audiobook.
Maybe it's an audiobook.
Yeah.
All I know is it's one of the most delightful ways to pass time. It's a series of the greatest stories. And so I'm so pumped. He's certainly not very secretive about having learned a few painful lessons in his life. And he seems to be like I wouldn't say a Jedi, but like maybe, let's see, underneath a Jedi is a Padawan. He seems to have the attitude and the vibe of like a Jedi Padawan. And so, Tom Arnold, dude, I'm so excited that you're here.
Buddy, I have no idea what you just said. None of that makes any sense to me. It's good to be here. And let's roll, man. You have here in your art studio with Jerry.
We have
director.
We have a producer that you have worked with before.
Director, too.
Yeah.
I worked with Jerry here. He had a very uncomfortable place down in, like, Death Valley. I forget where it was. It was so freaking hot. I was super fat, too. And there was it was everything you see, and it's authentic. All the crappy trailers that we lived in, those are real deals down there. And it was hot. But it was a weird one, and I liked doing it.
You shot like a surreal movie with him. And
I shot a real
Was it Death Valley or was it?
It was Salton Sea.
Salton Sea. Jesus.
121 degrees and Tom was in Santa Sea.
Yeah. It was, it was hot.
You're not fat right now.
No, I was fatter then. That was before my stroke. No, it was hot, but there's a lot of good actors there. It was good. Everybody was in it together. Jerry tried to make it as comfortable as possible.
Did a stroke get you not fat?
Well, I realized I should lose some weight. I was 80 pounds overweight. Get on blood thinners, then lose some weight.
How'd you lose it?
Worked out. Got this sort of food coach, guy that's a great big muscular guy, but a guy that transitions a lot of big people into normal sized people. A lot of doctors he works with, and had kids too. He'd reached out to me a few times. I met him at Arnold Schwarzenegger's, and in the past reached out, I'd like to work with you, and I'm like, no, I'm not ready for that. And then after this mini stroke, I called him and said, I'm ready, I think. And during COVID, I gained so much weight because my kids were homeschooled. My kids they're now 11 and 8. I'm a single dad, and they were homeschooled. And so, I haven't had a date in 7 years. So there's no, if you only take your shirt off in front of your kids, it's not a lot of pressure, not a lot of peer pressure. And I'd grown a beard because that's sweatpants to the face, and, you just, and then when that happened, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do, and the guy said, you could lose 80 pounds by this summer. It was, I think in February of 2022, and I was like, that seems like bullshit. But okay, he goes, just trust me, eat what I say when you got to eat it, do this amount of cardio. And it happened. It was crazy. It was shocking. I just didn't think that was possible. But
you have the most bitchin' I love, of all the trainers in the whole world.
Yeah.
Just mentioning that Arnold Schwarzenegger is a part of your training or health plan.
Yeah.
Is like
well, he knows more about the human body than anybody. And I have trained with Arnold Schwarzenegger once, back when we were getting ready to start True Lies. The director, Jim Cameron, said, hey, it needs to seem like you and Arnold have been best friends for years and years and years. You do that on shows.
Yeah.
You'll go into a show, and then day one, you'll be like, have a wife and kids, and you got to quickly, make that
buddy
real.
up.
Yeah. So he said, how would you like Arnold to come over to your house in the morning and work out with you? And I was like, yeah, I believe I would like the greatest bodybuilder that ever lived to come to my home and train with me in my unused home gym. That'd be great. And so the next morning at 6 a.m., I answered the front door, and I'm like, oh shit, Arnold, I forgot you were coming, man. Okay, come on in. Everybody I've ever met is here, though. Hey, guys, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's here to work out with me. Can you believe it? Where is my gym, by the way? I asked the housekeeper. Is it somewhere in the back? So we trade. And then that afternoon, Jim Cameron calls him, what time do you want Arnold back there tomorrow? And I go, I don't. And he's like, why? I go, well, number one, now I can say I worked out with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. And
number two, it's a lot of pressure to work out with Arnold Schwarzenegger because he genuinely wants to help you, And what he does, he looks at you up and down, and which makes me uncomfortable at any time. And then he has to compliment one of your body parts. He's like, Tom, you have fantastic left shin. And then he starts in on your trouble spots. I got a lot of goddamn trouble spots, so I'm like, screw that. So, no, I was good. And then when we shot True Lies, which I think premiered yesterday, 30 years ago. I'm not sure what day it is.
Oh, no, that's True Lies' birthday?
It is. I think it's the 15th of July, whatever that. I don't even know what date it is now. But yeah, and so that's time goes by quick. But we filmed. It was great fun, and we filmed for 7 months. Our trailers were side by side, and Arnold on the other side of his trailer had a semi truck retrofitted into a gym. And every night we come out after work, and he's like, do you want to get a pump on? I go, no, I'm going to go to Ben & Jerry's ice cream. For real. There was Ben & Jerry. And that's what we did every night. Now, here's how I knew we were becoming best friends in real life. Because the movie went over time, over budget, and it started to get to Arnold.
Yeah.
Arnold, who's the most positive human being, you've ever met. He came to this country in 1968 with, I assume, like a stinky tank top and a pair of short shorts and 29 cents. And he's every dream he's ever had. He's a billionaire, governor, biggest movie star in the world for a while. Yeah. Now huge on Netflix. It's come true. But the movie, it did start getting to him. And one night I'm like, okay, we come out after work. I'm like, okay, enjoy your workout. And I start to walk away. And he's like, no, not to. Give me 2 pints of rum raisin ice cream. And from that point, he stopped working out. He got very depressed. He gained weight. And that's when I realized we were best friends, because there was no way he was pulling me up to his level. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But if you could pull a fucker down to your disgusting level,
oh yeah,
that's friendship, man. Look at that.
That's friendship.
Yeah, that's us. So yeah, it was.
I worked on one of my like early jobs. I worked on Titanic.
Oh yes.
With Jim Cameron.
Yep.
And my only job was to drive film cans around Malibu.
Yep.
Or from Santa Monica to Malibu.
Mhm.
And there was one day where I think they only had pagers back then,
Mhm.
that at least I had. But there's one day where they put a really important film in my car and a
Mhm.
really important film in another PA's
Mhm.
car, and the other PA like got lost or like somehow like disappeared for a
Yeah.
while. And when I arrived
Mhm.
at Jim Cameron's house where they were shooting the
Mhm.
he thought that I was the other guy.
Yeah.
And he fucking
Yeah.
exploded on me. And it was
Yeah.
like I I had a decently abusive stepdad. It's like and so I was like, I don't get shaken easily.
Yeah.
But he wanted to fucking kill me.
Yeah.
And man, what an intense dude to work with.
Yeah. Well, Jim Cameron's not like these no offense, Jerry, these pussy directors that are like, well, Jerry's not a pussy.
Jerry's not a pussy.
But Jim Cameron's a 6'3" raw boned Canadian. Like he will throw down. He's a great guy. He's great to work with. And he puts everything on his back. Every movie, True Lies, Titanic, every movie starts with a budget, and then it goes over, and then that comes out of his money.
Yeah.
Like he will put his whole salary on the line.
Yeah.
But it's a success every time. So I understand
every time.
Why he'd be
every time.
Yeah. And you should be honored that he chewed your.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
I told the story forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Oh no, and you're still told it.
Yeah.
But when they filmed Titanic, it was great fun because before they started filming, he asked me and Leonardo DiCaprio and a few of the other actors that he worked with to fly down there, and they're going to have a ribbon cutting for this studio in Rosarita Beach, Mexico. And there was nothing there. We went down, cut the thing, and anything for Jim. And then the next time we went down, I would always go down. Arnold, and a guy named Stan Winston, who is special effects guy, like a monster creator. Won 4 Oscars. Our good friend, worked with Jim a lot. He'd say, "I'm breaking up the boat tonight. Cut the boat in half." So we'd get a fly down there and watch that. So we got to see a lot of this. It was crazy. I remember the first time that we went after seeing Rosarita Beach. There's nothing there, and he's got the whole boat there. It's insane, and the water he's built and. It was shocking, but it was great fun because, I think Leo and Kate Winslet, some of the other actors were kind of over it because they're wet a lot. They're doing this shit. They're working long hours. But, to be able to come in there and just see the best things, as a fan of Jim's and also someone that's worked with him, that was great fun. And it's also great to get the band back together, the guys that
sure
very well. Hey, let's go support our other friend here who's amazing. So
Leonardo DiCaprio is I've met him before, and I think that there are I'll just say my impression was like, oh, so if you're the greatest, one of the best movie stars in the world, like it makes sense. Like I was like, he really in person comes off just as with as much charisma as you would expect.
He's very nice guy. He started in the business. People always talk about people that started as kids and how troubled. He was on. We had him on the Roseanne show when he was a kid.
No, you didn't. You did?
Yeah, and he was friends with Sarah Gilbert. And then when Roseanne and I got married, they came to our wedding together.
Was Sarah Gilbert wait? She wasn't the because they swapped one of the.
No, that was the Sarah Gilbert played Darlene. It was the Becky that they swapped out. Darlene was the middle sister, very funny.
Yeah.
And Sarah Gilbert's very funny. And they had we had a situation with the original Becky, as they call her.
Yeah. What was that?
Well, I had started filming my show next to Roseanne, my first sitcom, The Jackie Thomas Show, which is a very good show. It holds up, and not everything does, but that does. And we were getting ready, we shot the pilot or whatever, and then I found out that the guy I picked, and I helped hire all the writers on Roseanne, or I picked this guy that I thought was really funny to write the pilot of Jackie Thomas with me,
Okay.
which he did a great job. And then I got word that he was dating 15-year-old Lacey Gordon, who's the actress. She wasn't 15 yet, but they've been dating for a while. This guy's 31, 32. And I'm like, that's unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
And so I talked to everybody.
France?
Yeah. And I fired him. You know, it was a big risk to my show because he was very good, but
Yeah.
fired him. And Lacey, who, young, you know how young people are. She was incensed that I'd done that to her buddy there. And she said, I'm going to quit the show and go back to college.
That's what happened?
Yeah, and that is what happened.
Wow.
And I think, and then so we had to scramble. And Sarah Chalk, who played the second Becky, who was excellent, you know, she was on that show. What is it, Scrubs?
Scrubs, dude.
Yeah.
She's great.
I
My
mean, she was
brother
just
Ashton-
great. She looked a little like the original one, but she was just a really good. I went through all the tapes. I watched all these different people, and she was the person. And then I believe later in life,
My brother Ashton is obsessed with Sarah Chalk.
she's great.
He's always had the biggest crush. And
Yeah.
is like all he talks about Sarah Chalk this. I'm like Ashton. And sometimes I think he's not married right now. And sometimes I think, are you waiting for Sarah Chalk?
That's funny. Yeah, well, she's great. And then I believe that Lisa Gordon said after I'd left the show, I worked on it the first 6 years. After I left the show, I believe she came back on the show,
Yeah.
as which is very funny. I'm glad she did. And but I think she's still very mad at me for firing. I mean, it was not a pleasant thing to do, but you can't have people in your crew and your dating. First of all, they should never be
Dating the
dating other
children.
show, but dating children is
Yeah.
bad, especially if you stand for something. So that was, and
Don't date the children.
don't. And then and it just was very inappropriate and not right. So it's not like I had him arrested, but I said that's it.
Do
So
you think Roseanne would have been part of maybe trying to jump in front of the bullet for Trump? I was like,
the
did
bullet
you-
for Trump, you're
yeah.
jumping around. Let me tell you, the bullet for Trump. Yes, Roseanne is a big Trump supporter. I am not. Roseanne, when I met her, she was a feminist. Very, I came from a meatpacking plant. I'd worked for 3 years on the kill floor of a meatpacking plant in Ottumwa, Iowa, Hormel. And then I wanted to be a comedian. That was always my dream. And maybe get to the University of Iowa, save some money. And they had a stage there. If I got a stage once there at the student union wheel room, man, I'd be famous in 6 weeks. That's what I thought. It's just not true. But I went up to
wait, what was your job at the meat?
Well, I did a lot. I worked in livestock at first, and then you got to work your way up. And livestock, can be very cold out there. There's shit everywhere. And
Yeah.
what you do basically is you drive the hogs in up the chute, where at the top of this chute they get them to go up there. This arm comes out and shocks so they pass out, and then the guy with a really good job on the other side, you get a chain around one of the hog's back legs, get him up in the air, and that guy's a sticker. That's the highest paid job there. His knife, this thin, long knife, and he has one chance to hit that right on this artery here, so the blood immediately drains out of the pig. Because if the blood stays in the pig,
Yeah.
then it gets gamey. You can't. It's a waste. So, but first,
Waste the whole pig, like all the meat. It's gamey. For
yeah. You got to get that blood out right away.
Okay.
So I did livestock. Then I moved up inside the building. But, I liked it at first because it was a job. I was trying to save money for college. It was a good job in our town. My grandpa had worked there 50 years. I'm from a meatpacking town. Then I moved into the floor. I was in Hambone for a while. And the sharper your knife has to be, the more you get paid. Like you got to keep that knife sharp because you're cutting up stuff. And if you can do that, then you move up. I chiseled heads. That was a pretty fun job.
You did what?
Chiseled heads. That's
What's
where the heads of the hogs on metal stakes come by you on a conveyor belt. And you cut this piece here, which is the temple piece. You cut
Okay.
that out. because that's really good meat. And
Good
they
eat.
cut that out, yeah. But you're just heads coming by and you're chiseling them. And you got to make your own fun, man. You got to.
It's like Laverne and Shirley.
Yeah.
Like that. Remember the
A little
opening of
bit, yeah.
Laverne?
And or Lucy with the chocolate or the thing, the conveyor
Yeah.
belt. But I remember Mork Mindy was on when I was chiseling heads, and I was daydreaming that I was best friends with Robin Williams, and then I got home that night and I look in the mirror. I'm like, you got to quit having that daydream. You live in Tumble, Iowa. You will never meet Robin Williams. It's too disappointing. Daydream about something possible. And then 10 years later, I'm in Rob Williams' house up in San Francisco. We're getting ready to start a movie called 9 Months. And I tell people, I've been in 150 movies, 4 good ones. And yeah, the Rainbow Umbrella too. Is there a Rainbow Umbrella, Jerry? That's the name?
Naked Umbrella.
Naked Umbrella. Okay. So I'm in Robin Williams' house. We're getting ready to start the movie 9 Months. He's having a cast over. And by the way, he's a Robin Williams. Everything you've ever heard about him is true and more. And if I called him at 3 a.m. and said, so-and-so's in trouble, he'd be like, let's go get him, whether he knew him or not. So
Amazing.
He was a part of our circle, as it were. Great guy. So we're there, and all the actors, Hugh Grant, Julianne Moore, Jeff Goldblum, Joni Cusack, everybody's there. At the end of the dinner, it's just Robin Williams and I sitting there. And I'm like, buddy, I have been here before. And he's like, in my house? I go, no, me, you.
Yeah.
Best friends. And he's like, we're not best friends. I go, I know, but it's kind of close. It's crazy kind of close. But I was best friends with Hugh Grant. And Hugh Grant, which seems shocking. Hugh Grant's a British actor, very cool guy. He just done 4 Weddings at a Funeral. I did True Lies, so we had a little something going. And we went out every night in San Francisco, every night. We were high-fiving. We were doing I love you, man. That's what guys' best friends say to each other.
Love you, man.
Yeah, we're doing that. And Madonna came to town. And she put on a private little concert about halfway through our movie and invited Hugh Grant and I to be her special guests, She invited Hugh Grant. I drove. It doesn't matter.
Amazing.
We go there. We're like, we're going to fucking see Madonna, dude. Holy fuck, high five. So we go watch her thing. And it is a small, it's about the size of this studio, maybe. That's how small the thing is with, I don't know.
A little concert?
30 people.
Wow.
Yeah, she's played, we used to call them albums. And she's played her new album. And after she plays, we're very excited. She says, you gentlemen want to come backstage and hang out. We're like, you damn right we do, Madonna. We're going to fucking hang out with Madonna, dude. Let's go backstage. We're hang out with her. And almost immediately, Hugh Grant and Madonna have chemistry and are all over each other, right? And so after a while, she's like, do you gentlemen want to come up to my suite and hang out? We're like, fucking hey, we do, man. And Hugh Grant and I are about to get on the elevator. And I go, whoa, wait a minute. Hugh, I swear to God, my feelings will not be hurt if I get out of this elevator right now and go back to the hotel by myself.
Yeah.
And he's like, Tom, do you or do you not want to see me fuck Madonna? I go, well, of course I do. But I didn't want to be a weirdo about it. He's like, just stick around, Nate. In about 10 minutes, I'll be fucking Madonna. So we get up to her suite. It's the biggest, most beautiful suite I've ever seen. It's just huge and glamorous. And she's like, gentlemen, make yourselves at home.
Yeah.
I'm going to go in that room and freshen up. So we are making it ourselves at home. We're taking it in. And Hugh Grant grabs a bottle of $200 champagne and just chugs it. And I see a giant white sheet cake there. So I go over and cut the quarter piece with the most frosting, and I'm eating that thing. And we're like, we always want to remember this. And Hugh's like, 3 o'clock. You see what I see? I go, yeah, that's Madonna's Louis Vuitton luggage. He's like, are you thinking what I'm thinking? I'm like, yes, let's steal some shit out of there.
Shut up.
Yeah. So we go over there. We're filling our pockets full of her shit. And all of a sudden behind us, I hear, what are you assholes doing? And I turn around and she's like, holy fuck, you're eating my brother's birthday cake. We're going to surprise him with that tonight. I go, do not worry. I will put this piece back and I know how to fix it with frosting. Yeah. She goes, get the fuck out of here. You guys are idiots. I go, no, I'm an idiot. You can still have sex with Hugh Grant. She goes, get the fuck out of it. She runs us to the door, to the hall, slams the door behind us, and we're in the hall. I'm like, God damn it, Hugh. I am so sorry. Now you don't get to fuck Madonna. He's like, mate, everybody fucks Madonna. We stole her fucking silver spoons, man. That's a much better story.
Oh, my God.
So the last thing you do in a movie is a press junket.
Mhm.
So you get like a floor of a hotel, like over here at Four Seasons, and every actor gets their own room, and 100 entertainment reporters will come by room to room to room and
Yeah.
ask you the same questions over and over. It's not their fault, but that's how, but you got to make your own fun here too. So did I mention Hugh Grant was hilarious? He's hilarious. See, so I'm doing an interview with Entertainment Tonight, and Hugh Grant walks right in front of the camera and says, "Hey Tom, are you getting a hooker tonight?" I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about, man? I don't get hookers. I'm married, I think." He's like, "You get hookers." "No, you do. No, you do." The Entertainment Tonight is produced like, "Relax, boys. We will never play that clip on Entertainment Tonight unless one of you gets arrested with a hooker tonight." And what are the odds of that happening?
Shut up. That was not. That was not.
Yeah, the odds were pretty fucking good. So after our interviews, we have kind of a going away dinner, and I say to Hugh Grant, "Listen, man, I got to go up to Toronto for 48 hours, but there's a Dodger game Tuesday, so let's hit it." And he's like, "But our movie is over." I go, "I know our movie's over, but we're having such a good time together." I go, "Okay, well, we don't have to go to a game. We can do something simple, grab a drink or a bite or something." And he's like, "Tom, wow, did you think we were friends?" And he goes, "Don't be offended, Tom. You can't be friends with everybody you do a movie with, Tom. We're vagabonds. We're show business friends. I'll see you in a year and I'll give you a hug." And that was hurtful, but it's a rule of show business. I'm still learning the rules of show business. So I get up at 6 a.m. Sunday morning, land in Toronto. I get emergency phone call by publicist. She's like, "Oh my God, did you hear what happened to Hugh Grant last night?" I'm like, "Holy fuck, did he die?" And she's like, "Worse, much worse. He was arrested with a prostitute." And, I am Hugh's best friend, so I got to ask, man or woman? Because he's British. You cannot tell. And just said Hugh Grant beeps into my phone. He's like, "Bloody hell, mate, where are you? You won't fucking believe what happened last night, mate. Oh my God. I got arrested, mate. I just got out of jail. We got to get together and think of a lie to tell Elizabeth." And I'm like, "Did you think we were friends?"
Amazing.
But I'm sure he hates that story. Madonna doesn't like it. But what can I do? It's still true. So
Son of a bitch.
yeah, so that's that.
And we know each other because I saw you speak in a room, an AA room.
Yeah.
What?
They have a good one at noon Friday meeting which is crazy because it's at the Rainbow.
It's at the Rainbow Room.
Yeah, which I've got
seediest
so
bar.
fucked up there in the 80s. So fucked and fighting and stupid shit. And it's really a cool thing because you speak at that meeting and you look around and you're like, these people are people that hung out in the Rainbow Room. They know who Lemmy is. They
walk through daytime drunks that are there.
Yeah, and you can smell
get
the booze.
upstairs. You can smell
the booze. It's kind of dark up there. I hosted Lemmy's 50th birthday party there.
What?
I have seen it. Yeah, and all these things. So I did that sober, but this is a great thing, and people show up, and it's a variety of type of folks, and you were there, and Armie and some other friends, Mike McGinnis. It was a real nice, real good thing, and I'm always like, because I went to pick a guy up.
Armie just did this podcast.
I know he did.
And he's had a shit ton of offers.
Yeah.
Movie offers. Since I'm so happy. He's
doing Jerry's movie.
He's doing Jerry's movie with you.
Armie has worked very hard himself. Very, very. He's done a lot of work on himself.
Yeah.
Because you get in these situations, public situations. Although I always thought his was one of the funniest to get canceled, the whole cannibal shit. And I was like, and as I got to know him, he's a dad like me, and. He's a funny guy. So how much of that is his funny, ridiculous bullshit? But he did have some issues, and it did offend people. And he has, made amends and really worked on himself.
Yeah.
That when I first talked to him way back, I don't know, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I said, when you get through this, when you get on the other side of this,
Yeah.
you're gonna have the best fucking stories, man. That's how it was for me. Like I could put But you have to get on the other side of it. You have to make things right. And people, a lot of times when we get sober, get well,
Yeah.
we're like, what do we want people to know? Can we tell our whole story? No, that's too much. Even to people we know. And then eventually you're able to tell it all, to somebody, maybe somebody in the group, somebody, because you're always thinking, if they know the real me, they're going to hate me. That's how we end up getting all fucked up too. Like, this isn't good enough. This is not good enough. This thing here. And so, yeah, I think he owned everything. You can't I'm going to apologize for this one thing, but not this other, because I think that would be too much to apologize.
Yeah.
I make him, but that's how we all are. We don't want people to know how bad it was, but eventually when we do, the great thing about groups like us is we're like, you can tell us the worst fucking disgusting thing that you've done, and the guy next to you is like, yeah, that makes sense. I would do that. Or, the one of the guys that came to that meeting to support me speaking.
Yeah.
The last time he drank, he killed his best friend. He got really drunk, driving, smashed into a tree. His best friend in the passenger seat died.
Wow.
And he owns that. He went to prison. And now this is 20 some years ago. He's one of the best human beings, most successful, best human beings. And then when he goes to share his story, because he doesn't look like a guy that did that.
Yeah.
If he goes share his story, it's powerful. Because if you go hear someone share and they're like, oh, like my sponsor, like 42 years ago, got arrested one time.
Yeah.
And then he hasn't used drugs or drank, which is shocking to me. It was a pretty big arrest, though. But, my story, hopefully my story is a straight line from here, but I've had some bumps in the road, a couple of relapses, and which is people, you share that too. And people.
You have 7 years now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 7 years.
Sunday.
Yes. And I have a short, but no, Armie's doing
Happy
very well.
birthday
thank you, man.
to you.
Where's the cake, man?
Happy birthday
to
to you.
Yeah.
What?
But it's my story is this. I haven't had a drink since December 10th, 1989. And but at 19 years sober, I got cocky about my program. As big in the community, as big. In fact, a meeting I started back then is still going, a men's group. It was co-ed, but then there was famous guys coming, and they were getting nervous because all these young, struggling women were coming. And their sponsors were, the older sponsors bringing these women.
Struggling women.
And they go, Tom, you got to make it a stag. I go, I cannot do that. I cannot say to these women who have been coming to the fucking meeting, oh, we're changing it to, that just doesn't, but we just moved the location. Another guy took ownership of it because, they're coming, they're all fucked up just like we are,
So grandfather them in.
Yeah. Yeah. So at 19 years sober, I got cocky about my program. I would tell the younger guys that heroin, opioid guys I sponsored, yeah, that's not my jam. I never did that stuff, and I don't know I wouldn't like it. I'm strictly a alcohol, cocaine guy.
Okay.
So I'm riding my motorcycle on PCH, and I get into a wreck in the back of a car, and I break my back. And I'm laying out there, and I hear the ambulance come, and the guy gets out of the ambulance. He goes, "Are you in pain?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Not anymore." He gave me a shot of fentanyl. And I remember thinking, oh, fuck, that's what I need. No, forget all the other shit. That is what I've needed in my whole life.
Not anymore.
So the next year, I'm about to get my 20-year cake, literally in a room with people. And I went, wait a minute, I'm still on the pain medication from a year ago. I am not sober.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat this cake, but then I'm going to start over. And it's so humbling. Because, you get a lot of your self-esteem tied up with your sobriety and the community, to start over. And when I go to a meeting and there's guys that are like, yeah, I was sober 27 years and I relapsed, and I go, that's who I need to hear. There's a lot of guys that are like, I've been sober 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, just sterling. Yeah. But when a guy is sitting there and you look at him and he goes, now I have 6 days. I'm like, that is what I need to hear, because that could be me.
That could be me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man.
And it takes courage to do that.
It's so weird because you're not happy that they're going through the shit at the time, but it is fuel for you. It's fuel
because it's like that could be me again. and it's so hard. And then you really encourage them to, they need a lot of love and support because, people again that it relapse that are you feel enough shame.
Yeah.
It's in our heads. We have all the shame we need up here.
So much.
Yeah. It's but you can't let other people shame you.
Yeah.
If there's people in your orbit who are shaming you about whatever, they got to go.
Yep.
They got to go because we certainly won't. We want people to live. Chris Farley was my best man at one of my weddings, and I got to know him very well.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and very sweet guy. I got to know him because he did an impression of me, and Victoria Jackson was Roseanne on Saturday Night Live, which is hilarious. And we went out to host the show.
Okay.
And when I got out there, Laura Michael said, "I want you to meet Chris Farley and spend some time with him because I think you guys have a lot in common." And I've been very open about my addiction stuff, and we did. I loved him, and then he played my brother in all of my shows, and I had him on Roseanne. He did my HBO specials, but it was an opportunity to spend time with him out here.
Right. And
he did his best. He at one point I called there. To say it would have been his third sober birthday, and I called there and I said, "Well, let me talk to Chris." Called SO, and Laura got on the phone and goes, "Tom, he's in his office. He's crying so loud he wants people to hear him, and he relapsed." Okay, so I talked to him. Then I have him come out, and he ended up going to 17 rehabs, and he
went to 17.
Yeah. And I think he was about to go to his 18th.
I only got 3.
Well, yeah, I've got 3 too. But I think what happens is you're like, oh, okay, I could always go back to rehab. I'll survive this thing. And, he did such a mixture of drugs, cocaine, heroin, plus booze, whatever. And he was also very big, 300 pounds. And I said to him at one point, you can either be fat or do drugs. You cannot do both. And no, you just can't. So you need to make up your mind because it's not going to work. So, but he come out and after he had that relapse and he wasn't, he was like, I just want to get back on, work. I'm going to work. And so I said, come out and do my show, Jackie Tom Show, play my brother. So he came out, he stayed with me and kept my eye on him a little bit, as we do. But I said he was getting ready to go back to New York. That's where his heroin dealer was. Yeah. That's where, how it is. And after the show finished filming, I said, come up to my office for a second. And before you go there, come up. So he comes up there and he walks in a room, and I got a bunch of recovering addicts like Rob Lowe and people that he knew, he'd work with, and they're sitting in a circle. And he's like, okay, because I think he had an idea. And I said, Chris, we love you. I think you should. I'm afraid you're going to die. We all are. We've been there. And I said, I want you to go to. We got this rehab set up for you right here.
Yeah.
Very cool. Down at what is it called? Daniel Freeman, whatever it is, down at Marina Del Rey. And he's like, okay, I'll do that. Thank you, guys. But I need to run back to New York and get something. And then one of the counselors is like, you just want to get fucked up. And he goes, let me tell you something. We take you to rehab right now. You're going to be fucked up because we got to give you something because you're coming down with this stuff. He goes, let's roll. The idea that it can be fucked up, I don't know what they give you, but they do give you something. They don't want you to have seizures or Ativan or Bactrim. I don't know what it is. But that's what happened. He was in there for a while. He snuck out, go to the liquor store. I mean, it's no reflection on the place, that people, a lot of us don't make it.
No, of course not.
Kurt Cobain, his last meeting was a group we had down at that place before he disappeared and went home and blew his head off. So, but I have seen a lot of people come out of there that do very well with their life, and so you don't blame. Some rehabs are better than others, but really, if you go to a place with a 12-step component and do what you got to do, which is not drink or use drugs, and then connect to a group like our fellowship, and you don't have to believe in God. You don't have to believe, but you got to believe in something that is greater than you.
Yeah.
And to me, that is the fellowship.
Wait, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
You have to believe in something that is greater than you.
Yeah.
Which also means acknowledging that you have had your way stopped working.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's a war you lost,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a better way as
Yeah.
long as you turn your will over to another.
And it's a lot of pressure to think you are the big cheese on all this stuff in the world, that you created everything,
Yeah.
that you are the center of the universe. Unless you're Donald Trump, it's and so anything. And I remember my first rehab, the guy's like, people are like, I'm not religious, I don't know. And he goes, I can't figure out and he goes, see that doorknob? That's your higher power. That doorknob right there. Focus on that. Don't get into the stuff about religion.
Yeah.
It's not a cult. You can believe whatever you want to believe. You complain about it, but it's just the things you have to be honest about what you're doing and ask for help and help others, be of service to others. You mentioned Donald Trump earlier. Yeah. I was at Universal Studios with my kids this weekend, 3 days, because I'm a great dad. That's a grueling. We live in Sherman Oaks, but then we drive to one of the hotels there and stay. That's like our vacation.
Yeah.
And it's hectic there. And on Saturday, my assistant was with us, and she and my son, because the kids are arguing about what rides they're going to do.
Yeah.
So we kind of divide car. That was just me and my 8-year-old daughter. And I'll do, and even though I'm older, and I'm like, I will do whatever she asks, because my head is like, how do I get out of this? How do I manipulate a situation where I don't have to go on the fucking Harry Potter roller coaster? I don't like roller coasters. And so I'm like, but I did have this thought. This is the day before my sober birthday. I went, this would be a good opportunity for some Xanax.
Yeah.
This is what, and Xanax and benzos was my last relapse. And because I go quick from that to, I should get 90, 10 milligram, whatever. That's what I did last time. and getting off benzos is brutal. Brutal.
That and alcohol are the two hardest.
Yeah. Yes. So at one point, my son was on the Empire Park. Goes, dude, he said, Trump got shot in the head. He's still alive though. And I thought, are you fucking with me? Are you just saying? And I go, who shot him? And my daughter goes, probably his wife. But I was like, okay, he's alive, whatever. I take a minute to look at something, and my assistant, Sasha, freaks out. We're leaving the park. You got to get out of here. There's going to be a civil war. America's weak. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? So you're more aware. There's thousands of people there. People have their phones. Yeah. People, and there's awareness. There's a lot of dads with their kids that I assume are MAGA Trump people. But we stayed and they stayed because they're good parents. They go, I'm not going to have my kids. This is something they'll remember their whole life. We're at Universal Studios. I'm adult enough to go, we're just going to do our shit here. We're not going to freak. And that's what you do. And he wasn't dead. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a terrible thing to happen. I hate
it's a terrible thing, but it's the most badass way of dealing with something like this. The fist in the air, Mike, is a kind of a cowboy move.
Well, for him.
Yeah,
he's the guy that criticized John McCain, who was a prisoner of war for 5 years in a box this size, beaten, would not leave. He could have gone home, John McCain, but he said, I'm not leaving without my guys.
You're right.
But it destroyed him. That's badass. And then for Trump to say
that is
he
badass.
Didn't like him because he was captured. So, yeah, he got shot in the air and did that thing. But he's very lucky. Yeah, and people died. People died there. At least one guy who was a firefighter, who was a girl dad, which I relate to. I don't relate to his politics, but that doesn't matter, Yeah. And so, Trump, I mean, he's just so full of shit, So I've known him 40 years. I've been a porn movie with Donald Trump, a softcore porn movie made by Playboy. The fact I'm in a porn movie with Donald Trump disqualifies me from being president. Okay? But I've known him 40 years, and I've been to the Playboy Mansion with him, and it was sort of funny. He did my sports show, best damn sports show period.
Yeah.
And afterwards, first of all, he does the thing that makes you feel good about yourself. He's like, before we start, I want to say I'm here because of Tom Arnold. And you're like, oh, gives me tingles.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing. And then after, he's like, will you come with me to Playboy Mansion? I have a new vodka or whiskey or something. And I'm like, yeah, I'll come. Yeah, okay, I'll come over there. And he's like, I want you to meet my new girlfriend. She's Playmate of the Year. I'm like, okay, well, so we go over to the Playboy Mansion. And Playboy Mansion, I had a lot of good memories from there. That you screened movies on Sunday nights, and it was the Playboy Mansion. I loved Hugh Hefner, First Amendment stuff, and I used to write for Playboy. So anyway, we go over there, and he says, hey, Karen McDougal, here she is. She's very nice, very pretty. Meet her. She's kind of got a bunny outfit on too. And then he's like, oh, my wife's here. Melania, come here. And my daughter, Ivanka. And then they come over, and he posed with all three. And you can see the picture. Google it. Yeah. I'm like, this guy doesn't care. This guy he just doesn't care. Like, which is funny when he's that guy. But then you're like, oh, he wants to be the president. Well, that's bad because he doesn't care. Now, he is authentically terrible. He's always been like he is. He doesn't care. He cares about himself. He doesn't care about, but the people around him, the enablers, they have changed. They're the assholes because they used to believe in something, and now they got to believe in him no matter what.
Right.
And, we got shot in the ear, allegedly. I've seen a doctor report something. But, it also reminded people that when Nancy Pelosi's 82-year-old husband, political violence, somebody broke into her house and hit him in the fucking head with a hammer.
What a terrible thing.
That he made jokes about it. And he and his family said, oh, maybe it was a gay thing to him. And then you saw the video, what happened. It's awful. So
it's awful.
That, January 6th was awful. It could have been even worse. People were marauding the Capitol because Trump sent them there. Yeah. And it could have been worse. And people died. And so we're lucky. So, he has, I think he should quit. But what's going to happen is we're going, our candidate is weak.
Oh my God.
And people are like, well, I feel sorry for Trump now. Like, you should feel sorry for Joe Biden. He died 5 years ago, and he's still doing it.
5 years.
The other one is RFK Jr., who I've known many years because I know the family, obviously, and he used to do this great stuff for Waterkeeper, where we go around and do these fundraisers that clean up the waters.
Okay.
And then he turned into this crazy conspiracy anti-vax guy. But he still had people are kind of his own family's like, yeah, we can't support this, but that his ego made it like he'll say anything, and then people approve of it, he's just got that kind of an ego. He's got a great sobriety story, but his ego, and that's how I know a lot of same people said sobriety. But he actually said that during a deposition that a worm got in his brain, ate part of his brain, died, and is still there. And people are like, that should be disqualified. But then I found out it was a deposition to have his alimony reduced. So I'm like, that's good. I get that. Because he's like, yeah, but there's a dead worm in my brain, and I'm not going to be able to work, so please lower my alimony. I mean, you say a lot of shit to get your alimony reduced.
That's a new one.
Yeah, but it makes it uncomfortable for the whole country. I'm uncomfortable. This week is the RNC, and this is their week, and my friends are like, oh, it just seems so bad. I go, well, it'll be different next week. This is their thing. Let them do their thing, and then we'll get back at it. And just the fact all this shit's been going on in the country and all the animosity and all the shit since really Trump started, and there's no like Trump, like, okay, I lost, I accept it. America does not like sore losers. That's really true, because if Bill Belichick loses a Super Bowl, he shakes hands with the other guy. He doesn't bitch about it. Like, I really didn't lose, guys. We were screwed by the refs. And they may have been screwed by it, but you just don't do that here. And so it upset the balance of what we really believe in, and peaceful transfer of power and things. So anything is on the table with Trump. So what has to happen is everybody has to rally, and he has to lose again. He lost by 7 million last time. What'll happen is women will rally. women saved this country. Women of color have saved it. It's because women don't tend to get involved so much into politics that men do, the back and forth. Men will always compromise.
Yeah.
Well, this guy was charged with rape, but when I was in college, I put my penis in a hot dog bun. So what? We're kind of the same. We're not the same. So, but women are like, when they get done with something, when they're fed up, they're like, fuck that, I'm done. It's too much. Even whether it be a reality show or politics, if somebody is just too much, they're like, that's it. We can't have that.
Yeah.
And those are Republican women and Democratic women. So, or people that haven't even voted. So that's what I think.
We got on this talk of Trump at the end of discussion of sobriety, and there's one more thing I want to just discuss a little longer, which is the importance of being of service and how that actually is a favor to yourself.
It absolutely is.
Because I know that you're kind of a warrior about
well, I have
people.
For instance, I have a heart camp. I've had Camp Del Corso, the biggest heart camp in America for kids with heart defects and heart disease. For 21 years, I've been doing it. And at first, it is a nice thing, but it's a nice thing for me.
Yeah.
Not only do I feel good about this and about what happens out there, but when I was 20, I wanted to know like the best strippers. That was my goal. How do I get to know? And then when I turned 40, I realized I should get to know the best doctors. And I do. And selfishly, I do. It's a wonderful thing. I think that the service, I had a friend commit suicide last Friday. Great writer, my writing partner, guy that wrote for Rolling Stone, the guy that was embedded, wrote in Iraq with the troops, wrote Generation Kill. He's a brilliant, Evan Wright, brilliant writer. We've been working for a couple years on this project about my sister's documentary, The Queen of Meth. But I got to know him very well personally too. Very sweet guy, young wife and kids, kids in the house. And I go down to his house and Friday night he just he was having anxiety and depression. And he'd written me the day before, I got a new doctor, got the right medication, I'm all good. And then Friday night in his house, he blew his head off. So, that kind of shit, you're like, but his wife, who came to hear me speak at a meeting.
Yeah.
I think it was a lesbian meeting down there at that's what I thought it was, but there was a Friday, is sober. And she had a group of people. When it first happened, I called the house and her friends, her friends of Bill, women, had all got over there because that's what we do. And they'd look out for the kids and made sure she got some rest. And I talked to the one woman who was answering her phone. She said, well, we're friends of Bill. And I go, well, that's what she goes, well, we show up. We just do.
We show up.
That is what we fucking do, And I can't believe that since I've become a part of this program, the shit that I've done, like, it's so out of character that I fucking go, whatever it takes, whatever you need. It's not, I don't have to think things through that, but this, I have this other thing. You just do that. And it does give you self-esteem. Yeah. You do interventions and they don't always go well, but you show up for people and work with them and things. It is, because there's dark days for all of us. I have days where I wake up, I'm like, what the fuck? And, I have a couple things to, I've had this 7-year custody thing with my kid's mom, who's a lunatic, and will call the cops and show up, and that kind of wears down. But I do a couple things. I do, and especially during a relapse. Yeah. When I relapsed after 19 years, I was in Betty Ford down there, and I was so dark.
Betty Ford in the desert?
Yeah.
I went there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good place. All these places are
second
good.
Place.
But I was down there. It was such a dark place for me. I had relapsed, but I ended up having a coma before I got down. Like, I was in a coma, wake up, and 3.5 weeks later, I was trying to taper down the drugs, but something exploded inside me. Wake up in the hospital, and then the person is there. She's like, okay, I go, what day is it? I noticed I'd lost a lot of weight. She goes, I have to show you what you did to your body. And I had a mirror, and I could see my face. I'm like, okay. And they chose down here, and I had a colostomy. And I'm like, you got to be, that's what I did to myself on drugs. That's what I did. And,
Wait, a colostomy? What is
yeah,
that?
that's why you have a bag where you go. That's where he goes to the bathroom on your side. I think.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah. And the doctor had said, well, you're lucky because it's not permanent. But it's got to be on there for 90 days. They will take it down. You're lucky. And I did feel lucky. It was brutal. You know, there's people that live with these ostomies all the time. There's kids in my heart camp. After I was feeling so freaked out about this, a couple of the doctors were like, you know, those kids, they said the names of those kids, and they're in the water. They're doing all this shit. They've always had them. I go, and you didn't notice because they don't care. They're doing their thing. So suck it up. Suck it up. So I went in, and I had an open wound because I had to let this thing heal. I had a wound vac, which is a military thing. If you get a big, you know, every day someone had to come and debrief me, which is cut the stuff. I went from that hospital to Betty Ford, and I'm laying there in the medical wing of the rehab. And man, you know, I could see what's coming out of my body, what's coming, and it was so depressing, such a dark place. And I talked to my sponsor, and he said, I said, Dad, I feel like a phony, I'm a this, that. And he said, well, here's important to know. All the good stuff you did before you relapsed still counts.
Yeah.
And he named a whole bunch of stuff. And I needed that. That saved my life right there. Because it does count. And it is, we do good things, but it does help us. You know, because our opinion of ourselves can be shit. But we go, okay, but that shit guy, he did this thing and that thing to help people and this, and it keeps you going, you know. Again, I still wake up some days pretty, you know, weight of the world. And I do this thing. I go, okay, what am I afraid of the most today? What am I avoiding the most? What phone call? What facing whatever financial thing? That's what I'm going to do first.
Amazing.
I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to do one thing. That's all I have to do is this one thing, the hard thing. And then, you know, after that, I do another thing. And then many days, I wake up and go, or at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, that was good. But my brain builds on these things. And another thing I do, because I have little kids.
Yeah.
So I put on you got to smile. You got to fake it. They can't see that or the shit with their mom, which they've seen enough in person. So I look at myself in the mirror. I go, I'm going to be smiling when I go out of there. And sometimes you forget that you're feeling like shit, and you look at yourself in the mirror later, like I'm still smiling, like I have forgotten my bullshit. So I'm perfectly capable of going down a rabbit hole with my bullshit.
Yeah.
And but you can't when you have these little kids. You know, you're all they have. And the longer I live, every day, because I've almost died a few times, but every day is money in the bank for them, for their life. Like every day they spend with me, you know, is a day they aren't spending with someone who's a bad parent. Okay. And however, I just turned 65. Man, I love it. I love being alive. You know, there's no guarantees. I do the parenting stuff a day at a time too, because I make no assumptions.
Right.
Because their mom's bullshit. And you know, that's a really good way. I assume, well, this could be the last day. We're gonna have to make this good. There's no like going to bed mad. There's no like going to bed without talking stuff. And I need to do better. Anytime there's a problem with the kid, that's on me. Whether it's school, the buck stops here. Yeah. I can't blame their mom. I mean, she's or the school or this. I need to get down there. I need to listen to them. You know, try to, and just sometimes I just need to be beside them.
Yeah, good.
You know, just sit beside them.
It's good. They keep you humble too. Humble and excited, humble and motivated.
But it's the most fun thing I've ever done. I have to say, like I've been in big movies. I've done this shit. There's no comparison. I'm glad I did that stuff. I'm glad I did sex, drugs, and rock and roll before. Yeah. Because that's over. But I genuinely enjoy it. I genuinely get a lot of self-esteem out of it. And I'm curious every day to find out who my kids really are. Who are they growing up to? How do I facilitate that? How do I protect them? But then how do I facilitate that?
Same.
So, you know, it's the best thing.
Yeah. My kids are 8 and 6. My son is like my best. I'm just having so much fun with him. My daughter is like surprised me every day. I agree. It's a delight. I'm crazy about it.
Yeah, my son, because he was born 2 years and 9 months first, before my daughter, and we were every minute, very tight. We did everything together. I mean, I knew how to do. I immediately went. I need to do everything as a parent. I need to know how to all the not
Sure.
overnights to change, like everything. I could do, and a man could do everything. There's nothing. And then when my daughter was born, my daughter was from a IVF, and when the mom and I weren't even together, and I was like, she's not going to miss out on anything. Her brother, whatever he got, she's getting, and it pays off because my son gets crabby with me, a little competitive, but she loves being with her dad.
Yeah.
She loves doing stuff with her dad. She loves creating games and improvising and this and that. Like my son goes to sport camp. She doesn't want to go because her friend's not there. Then we come home and I have to be in the pool doing our games. We do sports stuff at home. We do creative stuff. And she's really into it. And she's different. I don't always know. She's more thoughtful. She thinks ahead. If she asks a question, I have to think, why is she asking that question? I bet there's a good reason. And so it's a blessing, and highly recommend it. It makes you feel connected to the universe, for sure.
Yes. Okay, so my son I do this one little thing for my son. He's obsessed with animals.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to ask you a hypothetical question about an animal battle, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're just think about this for 1 second. Who do you think would win in a fight to the death, by the way?
Oh.
A polar bear
Mm-hmm.
or a Komodo dragon?
Oh, a polar bear.
Well, why do you think that?
Well, size. I don't think I've ever. First of all, polar bears and Komodo dragons never engaged because of where they live.
No, but wouldn't it be great if you could just watch a battle?
Yeah. Well, I'd watch it for sure. I filmed in South Africa for a while, and on the world's biggest game reserve. And there was it's so beautiful here. But I landed, and I'm going to where the location is, and lions had just taken down a huge, beautiful giraffe and just were mauling it. And I go, that's probably not what they want to show the visitors, but that's a real deal. A hippopotamus is the most dangerous animal if you go to Africa, because they will hide in a ditch where it's water and come up and it can knock your truck over. And because you think, well, lions, whatever. But polar bears, maybe polar bears don't have to engage as much. They're not up to fighting. But the Komodo dragon, you're talking about the giant lizard, right?
Yeah, but it also has it's poisonous. I mean, it's an apex predator.
Yeah, but also it is poisonous. But to polar bear, because their system, they're tougher. They're used to different things. I will tell you, my friend Sharon Stone, very good friend, like a sister to me, who told me at the beginning of my divorce, you're going to spend every dime you have. I know this woman, and for your kids. And I go, every dime? Can that be possible? She's like, do you want your kids or do you want money? I go, well, of course I want my kids. And that's really turned out to be true. But Sharon did one of the funniest things. Her ex-husband, a guy named Phil Bronstein, who was a writer for San Francisco, I have a feeling they were not getting along very well. And she had set up a thing at the LA Zoo or where they had a Komodo dragon in an enclosure where they could go inside there and visit it because they donated all this money and get up close and personal. And that Komodo dragon attacked her husband. You can Google this, and bit his foot and did stuff.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and then they got out, and the ambulance came, and she says, "Are you going to take him to Cedar Sinai?" And they said, "No, we're going to go somewhere to the valley." Then leave. He is lying there in immense pain on the ground, and she sent the ambulance away. And I'm sure he's like, what the fuck? She is trying to kill me. Like, she got me into that cage, that enclosure. And of course I was attacked by that animal. So they can be very dangerous. Yeah. You're right.
They kill people.
Yep.
I have something for you. Hey, Noah, will you grab that painting? I have a gift. This is what you get if you're on a...
cows are dangerous. I grew up on a farm. If a cow's done with you, They will push you up against the fence, and it's over. Like you think, well, bulls are dangerous. They are.
Yeah.
But a cow, a giant. Anytime there's big animals, you got to remember they're big animals, and once in a while they become animals.
Yeah.
And so they're all dangerous.
I saw a great
Okay,
video.
what's he got?
Oh,
what's he got here? Oh,
this is for you. It's this is a piece of art, and the man in this piece of art is Mussolini, who is kind of the king of bad decisions. And the piece says, "Make good choices," and it's for you for being on Painful Lessons podcast.
Yeah, and that's Wonder Bread.
Yeah,
that's the Wonder Bread girl, right?
Yeah, here, show the image to the camera.
Yeah. I don't know if Wonder Bread is a good choice, but something a little healthier. But
no.
But,
yeah, maybe.
Loosely, I've never seen him with hair and trimmer. But you know how he ended up?
How?
Hung by his own people.
Oh, of course I know that. Of course I know it. Hung and pulled apart.
But the Wonder Bread
after
woman,
he was
is it poured?
After he was rescued in one of the most incredible, like Hitler had this dude Scorzini, I think, and he would call on this guy, and he for like these special forces missions. One thing he did is he flew in early to France and changed all of the street signs to confuse the Americans when they got in and needed to get around.
Yeah, that was a man. That sounds like something a woman would do, just to fuck with your head.
Listen, I don't think that there's anything that you could say about Scorzini or the Nazis in general that they would get offended by. So
no, I'm not. I don't want to offend women.
No, of course. The other thing he did to get Mussolini is he was in the Alps, and they had to fly in on gliders to go get him. It was a whole special forces mission. They got him. He still bungled it later. And I think he was dressed as a woman at the time. Like he was like trying to get away with a disguise.
Well, the thing about those despots and dictators, they all ended up dying. I think that Putin really did not want Hillary Clinton to be president because, and he'd said this, people with him, because he'd seen what happened to Saddam Hussein and Muammar Gaddafi drugged through the street. And he said, that's what could happen to me.
Gaddafi was the worst, the worst way to go. I think they pulled his penis off.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But
Saddam Hussein's head, his body left his head when he got hung. It just ripped it. There, it's all,
the one thing that Biden could do right now to kind of is if somehow he won in a bare knuckles fight with Putin. If he could manage that right now, I think
Putin's scared of Biden. But I mean, Biden doesn't. Biden is defending the people that Putin invaded,
No, I know.
Which is a big deal.
Yeah.
But I'd fight Putin. I mean,
what are you talking about? He does judo every day.
Yeah.
He's incredibly tough.
Yeah. I don't want Joe Biden to ride a bicycle until the election or walk. Why? It makes me too fucking nervous. And we'll see what's going to happen. But the thing about being Democrats, you're always scared. Yeah. And then you're like, Biden's got to resign, or then what would happen? I don't know what would happen.
Yeah.
But I do like Kamala Harris. Because I think when you're vice president, you don't see your best shit. You got to hide. A little bit. But she was a state attorney general. She was a prosecutor, a senator, and she was putting people in jail before. For just small drug crimes. Like she can be a badass.
That's not good.
So, I support whatever. Dude. I'm sorry that we have to go through this shit for 100 more days. Yeah. And this country, people are over on both sides. They're like, fuck.
Over.
This is fucked up. These are the two best guys.
I know, it just got exciting to watch the news though. It's interesting news. Dude.
All right, thank you. I'll put this up my house
So
today.
Grateful.
Thank you.
Peace out.
All right. Peace out. Jerry?
Good work.